was having a vision. I had a vision of the Earth being destroyed, but only tip like a forest, and those be able to outlet. Well, we're very innovative species, right? So we can live underground. We can store seeds and some even terraform the planet. Yeah, with people like Alex Jones putting Portland on the map, it's it seems like there's a very good potential that there would be some giant nuclear war, some kind of crazy war that could start here in the Pacific, Northwest Pacific area, Portland, Seattle, California, maybe in part, Washington, parts of Canada. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it would happen, I would imagine, in many different places in the country. Of course, if we were ever to be attacked.
Right.
But I'm not too educated on how we would be attacked. I have heard that South Korea could be just one gigantic military base, weapons cache that was created and designed to fall, and that pendulum seems to be swinging when we're looking at the East being the leading the way in the next century. Someone would say the United States has already been sold to China.
But the people that are in the streets beating each other up to a pulp don't really believe in their mind that they're pawns. And I could say that there is a lesser of two evils in some cases when looking at the groups, but I don't support Antifa blocking traffic and other threats to people's safety. And I've never felt close to that culture of people. I don't even know these people. So many people, I think, just moved to Portland to be a part of the party. And so Portland has such, in my opinion, a nightlife element to it that people outside Portland don't get, that are watching all this crap. They just don't understand that Portland thrives in that type of energy. And that's ultimately why Joey Gibson and his crew are drawn to Portland, is it's going to facilitate a show. Whereas, people aren't that amped up in the rest of America. Well, maybe California. Obviously, there's Berkeley. But Topoff 4 laid the groundwork for the federal government, to have influence over Portland's affairs, down to Ted Wheeler. I just wanted to end with Ted Wheeler is more involved. Well, so am I.
It should be much informed. I mean, they should be just much more, and we were. What happened? That's what I'm asking. What happened? Was it Obama? Did people just go to sleep? Because I know that we were awake before Obama, but with the new generation, I mean, it's got change will come generationally, and I don't think that we can have any control over it. And eventually, we're going to be called old men, and we don't know shit.
Crazy old men.
Just the way it is. And today's commercial, the market, the business class, the way that advertising works, it's just the way it is. It's just manipulated, and it's unfortunate.
So you might have noticed, and so they'll be there trying to redirect all of these movements. And as we see it today with the Pied Pipers, there are things that have people rising up about issues that they care about. Doesn't mean those issues aren't relevant, but that they're easily directed in these periods to where sometimes there's a full moon or certain years, like in Portland, will draw massive protests. Whereas other years, it'll be quieter, kind of like winter versus summer, night and day. And so I think there are seasons too, whether people are fighting or getting something done, people being in action and moving forward. And then other periods where it's just pretty quiet. Um, and so I think that we're moving into a really intense period again in the next few years. This is probably the quiet before the storm. And as we started this conversation a few minutes ago about geopolitics, are you still there? The geopolitical end game somehow, some way, may include Portland, Oregon. And I may have to reconnect with you here. You were talking about Alex Jones and him making some statements about Portland being the epicenter, and this would be like a significant period after me predicting that Portland would play a major role in this scenario on a national level, and its proximity to the ocean, the history that Portland has with regards to Shanghai and kidnapping and things of that nature, the reality that it could happen again. There's a period in which people were kidnapped out of the Portland area when they literally built the city. This is not a joke. So, there are tours that go on regarding the Shanghai Tunnel. It's more about the industry of the crimping game. And so, there's some OPB episodes, and there is some other information that you can find with regards to the history of Shanghai, where men that came into Portland that basically built the city and made those buildings that eventually were brothels, where women were basically shipped in and they sold themselves. And the people that literally founded Portland were like the modern day, like Nick Fishes, basically, and Ted Wheelers. They were actually known as the plutocracy. They had like their own like mock Bohemian Grove type of get together, secret society, skull and bones, Portland style, old school gangsta. And a lot of people don't understand that history. And so when you have an area like Portland that has a history of Shanghai and kidnapping, when it was done by boat, this is before electricity, as we know it today. It's been done before. It can happen again. So when we think about a grid down situation, I think about like basically Portland being a city in which the people are basically totally vulnerable. In a worst case scenario, you have a ton of younger women in the Portland, Oregon area. And to know that Alex Jones, as I suspected for years, was in with Russia. I mean, my conspiracy theories about Alex Jones and Russia go back to 2010, at least. And I'm like, this is kind of too close to comfort for Russia today and Alex Jones. At one point, RT reached out to me and said, Alex, would you like to come on to talk about transhumanism? And I said, sure. We scheduled it with Liz Wall. Somebody stepped in and had her cancel it. That's probably a good thing. That probably would have been bad if I got too well known. But I feel that Alex Jones had a role in that. There was a time period, the last time I ever talked to Alex Jones, because he did let me interview him a few times. And I was thinking about putting that clip up. I asked Alex Jones what his opinion was on Israel. And like his demeanor went really dark really quick. He did not want to be asked that. You could say that I even bucked to pressure from the chat rooms. Hey, you get to interview Alex Jones, ask him about Israel. Well, I'm not going to do that at the beginning of the interview, so I do it at the end. And, he was angry with me, kind of accused me of, well, you got to stop listening to all that COINTELPRO, all that on the internet. And now that all this stuff is cleared, we see these connections with all these different groups. Also, Israel and Saudi Arabia seem to be pretty busy ethnically cleansing Yemen. And I'm not really sure. That's too traumatizing for me to report on Middle Eastern news, to be honest. I can't really play that role now because it hurts. But I'm pretty convinced there's some sort of ethnic cleansing going on that isn't so much about being anti-Islam, but being about some of these people getting just killed. And so the greater thing, people ask me, do you think Alex Jones will run for president? He doesn't need to. He already has like this power that people can't see as he grows, as the social media platforms grow, and as the actual government conducts surveillance on his audience with his knowledge. In the very end, he is knowingly entrapping his audience as he radicalizes them. I mean, there's a deep labyrinth to what I think he's involved in, and how if they can create radical elements, i.e., controlled opposition, white nationalists, or just others that may not be that, some that may, the world at large is already looking at America as a violent force with the foreign policy. So they can use these things that are in the streets. These people that are creating these, violent scenarios in the streets are in a way creating propaganda that could be used against like so many Americans. Like this is how they were at the. It's kind of a bad vision. It's been with me for a few years. And so I'm going to pause for a minute after I get all that out. But you were saying that you heard Alex Jones say that Portland will play an epicenter. And just hearing this back is like, this is right along with some sort of West Coast endgame for some sort of a strike. And the role somehow that AJ is playing for the dark side and the potential targeting of these people. And then we get into this world of how much of this should I censor from YouTube because some people may not be able to handle the truth. And sometimes we just have to take the risks and explain to those people that this isn't about attacking them per se and being with the left or Antifa, but as independent observers, people that have been knee deep in this stuff for 15 plus years, that were listening to Alex Jones back in the day. I wouldn't say worshiping per se, but definitely like, oh my God, and then running around giving people his DVDs. Like some of us were there in the beginning when Alex Jones was a part of our early awakening. And one of the issues that I have with the left is pretty strong.
Wow.
The issue that I have with the left is that they want to complain about white nationalism and supremacy, but their denial to investigate that day that got us in these wars has allowed, before Trump was even on the stage, Islamophobia. Everything that they say is just Trump's fault was already pre-existing under Bush and Obama. I think it just got crazy in recent years, but it didn't start with Trump. That's not a statement for or against him. It's saying that this thing started way back, and under Obama, we were seeing these events start up with the Orlando guy. We saw another event in San Bernardino. And then we saw this shit from Alex Jones having, false flag, conspiracy, the government manufactured it, to literally a switch overnight. And what I think that I've been trying to do, probably self out in the streets, others, is try to educate people that if they just got on board listening to him, or if they just got politically active in recent years, they're doing themselves a great disservice for not going back and checking where Alex was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So a lot of these people I don't think are aligned with wanting the truth to be out about that day, because those are incompatible. This is what the left needs to understand. Saying that 9/11 truthers and white supremacists are the same makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's like oil and water. 9/11 truth is about the truth about us being lied to, about the Afghanis being blamed for that day, like that being a hoax. Not like Sandy Hook, but like on another level. And like if someone's a real truther, then they're not going to go down a path of Islamophobia. They're not even going to go down a path of calling those people terrorists. And so people need to be able to like take accountability for if they're going to be following this guy, and this guy is speaking of a certain narrative that's getting them all angry and tell them that Muslims are coming to rape them and their daughter. If they can't see that that's kind of weird when he was like totally different 18 years ago. One last thing. Kelly Jones, his ex-wife, says a lot of good stuff about, her exposing Alex Jones after leaving Alex Jones. But she makes sure to firmly denounce questioning 9/11, which is kind of sad. There's a lot of people out there that say that they're against all this racism. And it's like, people talk about if a black guy has a situation where they call it a drop gun, where a police may plant a gun on someone. There's been a lot of allegations over the years of that happening. So a lot of people that are social justice warriors have spent too much time just on domestic U.S. issues and have closed their eyes to foreign policy. And so the ultimate idea of the drop gun on other countries is the constant perpetual blaming that they're bringing all this terrorism. It's like the ultimate drop gun scenario, just to put that in a... And if people can kind of see that and go, it's not fair and balanced to say that we can't trust the official news report over here, but we can trust this one over here. And so now, we're seeing also shootings with white shooters in Las Vegas and others. And they believe the government's manufacturing that, and it may. But if they're going to question one thing, they should question other things. And I think that pretty much is something that they should know. That's not your responsibility per se, but you would think more Portlanders would be buzzing about these things. And I look at these protests, and it seems to be way more about, you know, it's been about the fighting and less about the communication about those very things. I mean, because, like, yeah, as long as people are going to come with the charge that with all these uh, Muslims in the country that they're a danger, how can someone counter what they're saying if they just believe all the threat matrix news? Yeah, it is so un-PC to question those official stories. And what concerns me is where we're going from here. If we'll see another event and how America is going to be responding and acting after an event. Oh, Portland seems to be the city that's most at risk of having an event after it's left the jank TTF. And I think that's what some people are saying is going to happen to Portland, that they're going to get hit. And that sounds like kind of evil to curse Portland in that way. For certain YouTubers to kind of suggest that Joanne Bowman, she's not perfect. I'm sure she has her flaws. I'm sure you have some things to say, but for her to pull us out of the JTTF and then for people to curse her and say that now terrorists are going to hit Portland is like just hardcore neocon Bush propaganda that they have brought in under Trump. I pray that that is not the case for Portland. I pray for Portland that Portland in no way is going to see Operation Blackjack, as discussed by Clyde Lewis and others, and even Paul Joseph Watson, where they showed a comic strip of a series of targets, 6 cities. One of them was Portland, and the date's June 22nd, but we don't know the year. So this cryptic comic strip came out showing Portland as ground zero. And that has always bothered people like me and you and Clyde that have come across that strip, because we don't want to see that happen. See now that Portland's on the map and so hated because of the Antifa versus Proud Boy thing, it seems like this was almost destined for Portland to be ground zero, for there to be a battle to begin with, for there to be a clash. And then you mentioned artificial intelligence. Has Portland long been destined to be a city where social engineering projects, are kind of, it's like there's this statue, it's so archonic on the east side of the Hawthorne Bridge. It's probably still there. It looks like some sort of a weird machine, the statue by the Hawthorne Bridge. And that seems indicative of the culture of Portland, Oregon right now, with all of the iPhones and all of the Macintoshes, Mac laptops, just the modern generation of hipsters. It's a city where I'd like to see something more positive come about from AI than just the end game. But yeah, self-driving cars, robots making food, just a lot of different things that Portland could really trailblaze with regards to robotics. And so I was noticing on Portland City Council today that there was somebody talking about AI and playing a video on YouTube, and I forget what they're getting into, but and where does AI end and the archons and the paranormal begin? Where is their overlay between the demonic realm and the parasite realm and artificial intelligence? That's another area of speculation. But I think that there is an overlay between these terms that we're talking about. And then 5G and all of that. Yeah.
I try not to think about it. I know this spring I'm looking forward to putting some seeds in the ground and hopefully eating what I grow. I mean, that's very simple, and that's probably one of the first things we can do is try to in my opinion, is try to reconnect to the spirit that moves through all things.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm by it as that, is trying to is a personal path, a personal struggle at this point, and
yeah,
I want to be humble, but I'm being successful at it right now. I'm really happy with that. And I try to remind people, I try to give back as much as I possibly can, that I'm not the first one, and there's many people that came before me, and you know, I'm just a product of the world that I'm in, and in my environment. And in many ways, Portland is giving me this brought. It wasn't necessarily Portland, but the people love Portland. So many great inspirational people. And it did take me the willingness to you know, to swallow my pride at times and say, you know, I can learn something new. I think that's something important for all of us everywhere, to try to be open to, and it's not always easy, especially that first time. Culture shock and experiencing that can be scary, and sometimes, you know, you might not want to put yourself in that situation again, but the more you do, the more and,
Hey, I got a question.
treat
On
people
one,
the way you want to be treated. I think that's a golden rule. Outside of that, I really don't know what else to say, except for, again, it's a battle of the mind. They want us to buy this and that and the other thing, and shit. They might even want us to kill ourselves and
yeah, I think
take
so.
us off this planet.
Right.
Are you know, via options. You know, well, you didn't have